All right, y'all. Okay, so first let's start with introducing ourselves so that people know who we are. I'll start. I'm Rebecca McCusker. I'm owner of McCusker's Marketing for Garden Centers. I describe myself as a marketing strategist. And I'm kind of a marketing coordinator too, because I'm pulling together all of these elements that make up marketing, from SEO to social media to newsletters, loyalty programs, websites, branding. And I pull together the experts that are needed to achieve all of these elements of marketing. So I'm kind of, if you're a fan of the Muppets, like I am Kermit, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's me. Abby, who are you?
I have to make a comment. Does that make your husband Miss Piggy?
It does. Thank you. Yes,
Okay.
correct.
I'm Abby. I am the director of social media for McCusker's Marketing. I also, I guess, run. I always trip over that. I always just say I do social media, but I run a social media agency outside of
Runner.
McCusker's. So I have worked with small businesses in social media for a long time. I feel like it ages me now to say like over 10, 15 years since, the days of like having to tweet 12 times a day as a
Right.
business. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm in it. I'm in the thick of it all day, every day with real small businesses. So this is my
Yes,
jam,
really.
social media chat.
Heck yes. Katie, introduce yourself. Katie's turn.
My name is Katie. I am our director of photography and videography. So I'm the one helping behind the scenes with the visual input and visual output. You'll see me assisting Abby with social, sometimes popping in and out, coordinating partnerships on and offline. And yeah, I had the opportunity to join the McCuskers team this year officially, and it's been great.
Yes. How many years together do you guys think we have in marketing experience? Because, like, let's see, how old am I? How old are we? Like, I'm 35 and I've been doing marketing since I was, professionally doing marketing since I was probably 19. I don't know how many years that is. How many? And Abby, like you guys,
I'm actually not a math expert.
In my mind, it's 26. So
I'll apply to count. So what you said, you're 35.
That's 15 years alone.
Yeah, 14-ish. So
yeah,
and I have probably similar. I mean, I'm 32 almost, and professionally, and that's I'm always like, well, what do we count? But
yeah, right.
So we can low end it even. We can say like 12 years for me, and then we have Kitty.
So
yeah, and then we have me. I have been doing this professionally, freelancing since I was 23. So we're at the 5-6 year mark now.
Yeah, man. I didn't realize you were so young, Katie.
I
mean,
I'm the old crone,
and of course she is.
So today we're talking about mistakes garden centers make on social media. We see it every day, every single day. In fact, I like friendly stalk the online presence of garden centers all over the USA, like every single day. I'm looking at you guys. I'm admiring what you're doing well. And I'm noticing what garden centers are struggling with is usually all the same stuff across the board, whether you're in Maine or Hawaii, it's always this same stuff. And it's because, look, you guys are horticulturalists, you're farmers, you are experts at growing plants, you are experts at running a horticultural business. You're not from a marketing background. And most of your team isn't either. You're hiring people for skills that do not align with, like, hey, how good are you at attracting, X amount of new customers and habituating purchasing, behaviors? That's not what you guys are hiring for either. So it would make absolute sense that you guys are all struggling with the same things on social media. So we wanted to kind of open up our first podcast episode talking about this because it is such a prevalent problem. We see it all the time. And as you heard in the intro, like, it can and will impact your sales. And it can even, I heard, I forget who initially said this, But there's actually, it's from the book, Hey Whipple, Squeeze This. It's a marketing book. And he says in it, there is the worst dentist in America out there somewhere. Like, he's out there, he's like drilling a hole in somebody's tooth today. Okay. Like, and he is the worst dentist in America. And nobody knows that he's the worst. And that's terrifying, and it should terrify you. But okay, so marketers, we don't have that luxury as marketers and as advertisers, because if we are the worst and if we're bad at our jobs, like, everybody knows, because everything we do is put out in the universe for everybody to see. And so that's the same with any small business, any retail joint, any garden center. If you are advertising and marketing yourself in a subpar, not very professional way, everybody knows, like, we can all see it. And so that's another reason why it's so important for you to get this right. So we're going to run through, I don't know how many we have, like 5-ish of mistakes that we're seeing over and over and over again. And we're going to also provide you guys some thoughts on how to make it right and what to do instead. So, Abby, what's number 1? Let's get into it here.
Yeah. Hopefully we didn't just lose like 6 listeners who have like dentist anxiety. I feel
my God.
Like, like my mom would have been like, I gotta go. I'm triggered. I'm just here for it's been a lot already to like hold in the like, wait, I want to interject with a joke. Keep it together, Abby.
Keep the jokes rolling. We need them.
Right. So yeah, number 1, I mean, it not having a strategy. When I wrote these notes, next to it, it says duh with a little emoji, but yeah. And I think what I mean here, and we can talk more about it, is I think that a lot of garden centers and really small businesses, but particularly, garden centers that have, kind of somebody wearing a lot of hats, or they're busy, doing all sorts of things. If they don't have a major marketing budget, or they don't have, somebody who works 100% in their marketing, they just assume, a strategy. What's strategy? We don't have that. And that they can have one, but you absolutely can.
Yeah. So let's kind of break down of what does it mean to have a strategy, even if back of a napkin strategy, like what does that look like?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, it always starts with content pillars. We build those now, as you two know, for all of our clients. Sure do. And what a content pillar is, I literally tell people, like, I want you to envision like, pillars holding up a porch, and siphon, what you do as a business, who you are, into those 3 things. They don't have to be complicated. Like, a lot of my clients, I break them down where I'm like, okay, it could be as simple as products as one. The other one could be people, right? As another content pillar. And the other one could be events. If you're, happen to be a garden center that does events, or, and there don't have to be 3. I like 3 is usually a great number, but break it down. And you can, talk about, okay, I sell flowering annuals in the spring, and I transition. I like to do a really big push on tropicals. Those are products, but you also have other things, right? You might have maybe you do a lot of lawn care items. We can talk about, again, more of what fits in different pillars, but that can get tiresome when you just throw things at people all the time. Say, buy this, buy this, buy this. So by having another pillar to switch to talk about, it helps show a full scale picture of who you are. So people is a really easy one for me to pull from the top of my head, because a lot of times, right, these small businesses, we can guess that you've probably had a few of your team members that have been there a long time, or your team members are really important to you. So, and people love that. That is a reason people come in and shop small instead of the big box stores. So, highlight your staff, what they love, the plants they love, just who they are, their stories, that right there. That's a content pillar that just keeps on giving.
Knowledge is another one. Garden centers often are like, we're the ones answering questions. They're not going to be able to get that at Home Depot, because those people don't understand the plants that they're selling. So that's another pillar that we see over and over again with our own clients, because all of our clients are like, we're the ones that know about this stuff, and we want our customers to know that about us, that we can help them. And so that's the knowledge pillar is, you're educating people. So you can go onto your social media platforms and educate people. That's a
Yeah.
great pillar.
Yep. And just cycle through them. It's
Yeah.
literally, and that content pillars help set a cadence and a realistic
Yeah.
goal. If we're talking specifically, right, about social media, of how often you should
Yeah.
post. If you have 3 content pillars, post 3 times a week. Keep it easy, Monday, Wednesday,
Yeah.
Friday. And
Yeah.
then, if there's extra
Exactly.
stuff, great. And then hit each one and then cycle through them again. Or maybe you hit products twice, because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, we are trying to sell stuff. But,
Yeah. Right.
it just, so you've got, okay, product,
Yeah.
people, education, product, and then
Yeah.
repeat next week.
Yeah. And, speaking of a strategy and having those pillars, like one of the things that was on my mind about this conversation was what we see a lot is garden centers just post pictures of plants, like close-up pictures of the plants they're selling. And that's not a strategy. Obviously that's going to be a part of what we do, because we want that beautiful tea rose and we want to show people that, beautiful succulent. But that can't be 100% of what you're posting, because it's static, it's boring. And honestly, what's the difference between a rose in Kansas and a rose in Massachusetts?
Mm-hmm.
But who are your people? What is your history? What roots do you have in your community? What knowledge are you imparting? Like the questions that you're getting over and over again from your audience, like put that life and dynamic into your social media and people will respond. Not just close-ups of flowers 24/7 all the time.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's a
And
common mistake that I
yeah.
see.
And that kind of we'll come back to that on, I feel like, when we get to point 2,
Yeah.
because it's also like, that I feel like it's that paired with, so it depends on your style.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you, very specific, here's the, the street name for the flower, and then the really specific scientific name. And then,
Yeah.
essentially copy pasted care details from, the seed packet or whatever, which isn't bad. Right. But that's
Yeah.
not a strategy, and
Yeah.
and we can and your customers can get that elsewhere, and they might want to know about care, but they don't just, that's not going to stand out. That's not going to work to just, say, here's the same thing, today, tomorrow,
Right.
Wednesday. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And another part of the strategy I do want to talk about too is influencers, pulling in influencers. And I kind of want Katie to talk on this a little bit of like, what is that and why it works. And this is going to be a whole separate, podcast and blog and everything, because it is its own thing that we really want more retailers to understand, because it's so powerful and effective. But I would say it's a mistake not to leverage your local micro influencers. So and most garden centers are not aware of this amazing local tool they have.
Absolutely. I think that influencing specifically, one of the great benefits of that, people become influencers. If you dissect it down and break it down to its core, they have built a community online because they have established trust in a community of people online. These people seek their advice, these people seek their suggestions. That is why they have cultivated this space online. And so that is immediately like, you go from that to like a cold suggestion, someone in the grocery store saying, "Oh, I buy all of my plants at my local garden center, but I have no idea who you are," versus someone online who has generated this long-standing community. You know who you're speaking to. It's immediately a friendly face. It's a warm touch point that you're reaching, and they're able to kind of give you roots online in spaces that you're not in. And I think one of the things that we see with garden centers, maybe you are present in your community and you're lacking that online, and you're leaving out an entire audience and demographic. And I think especially now that is such a mistake. And so it is more important than ever to be online in those spaces, making connections with those people.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
practically speaking, it's about finding those local Instagrammers or TikTokers that are talking about gardening, talking about houseplants, talking about, maybe they're talking about pollinators. And it's about just simply, all you have to do is just reach out to them and be like, hey, you want to come by? Like, how can we strike up a relationship together that's mutually beneficial? So that's it, and then you have a mouthpiece, and you have the social proof as well. Somebody, maybe they have 30,000 local followers that don't really know about you yet. And so they're able to say, hey, I'm Jimmy. I'm the farmer homesteader that does, flower gardening. And hey, everybody, like, check out ABC Garden Center and check out this amazing plant haul I just did. And now you have 30,000 people engaging with that and being like, yo, I need to do that myself. So
I also
that's
think it's important to remember, and I know Katie will, it also doesn't just have to be the online person talking about pollinators or horticulture. And that's maybe that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that comes back to maybe also knowing your goals, which I have written as a note there, but there's these lifestyle, influencers and mommy bloggers, and you'll get a feel for what they do. There's going to be lifestyle influencers that don't fit for you because they care more about, makeup and this and that. But the ones that care, that there's a lot that of what we see, especially, the three of us are here in Ohio. We see a lot of our influencers that do lifestyle stuff tend to be about our ages like 25 to 45, somewhere in there, that are moms, and they show everything from, places to go work out, things to do with your kids, to shops. And I know Katie did a great job I can think of one client of ours this year that, we had been using those influencers for their events, and then we were able to get them in just to showcase the garden center. And even though that person wasn't a flower expert by any means, or a horticulture expert, right, they were able to show they're homeowners, and they are followed by other moms and homeowners who do want to beautify their yard and their garden. And I think that, that client had a great season from what I know of the numbers. Katie,
absolutely.
I don't know if you have anything to add on this, but I know you and I we're passionate about our lifestyle influencers.
Yeah, and I think specifically on that, just like to help understand that better, your avid gardeners, if I am planning my garden for the next season starting now, I do know which doors to walk into sometimes, and the favorited spaces online that I visited. And so we absolutely want to reach those people, but I think it's so important to step outside of just that box as well, which is really what that lends favor to in the marketing space, especially because, yeah, absolutely. There is one influencer I can think about specifically online, and she's cultivated such a cool community online in gardening, yes, but specifically like raised bed gardening and gardening without the back break. And a lot of that is lifestyle accommodations and many things that just people want to feel like they have community in spaces that they feel recognized. And so, yeah, your 19, 20-year-old apartment owners might not have the acreage and space for planting a large scale garden, and getting them into the love of houseplants now is completely vital to them enjoying that for a longer season of their life and staying in that and becoming that. I'm planning my 2026 spring garden right now this year from my favorite garden center because they share all of that online. And I started getting my pothos from them whenever I got my first apartment. And so you really do grow and establish relationships with people for the long term in those spaces. So I think while it is often overlooked, it is really important to get outside of those spaces and connect in other lifestyle areas as well.
Especially since so many garden center owners tell us, like, we need to be reaching more people. It's amazing. Like, we've been here 50 years and there's so many people still that are like, I didn't know you were here. Well, this is how you reach a lot of them. It's like going to these digital spaces where you aren't showing up right now, where people aren't aware about you. So it's another just great way to like increase your reach.
And I think, maybe pivoting from kind of to our second point, it comes to knowing your goals. And Katie is, talking about that influencer who's talking about raised bed gardening. That's a great example. If you are saying, okay, I have these existing customers that do come in, and they, maybe they're older and they love, I use this example already, so I'll do it again. These flowering annuals, like, you've got that on lock. You've got your, maybe 50 plus that have been coming to you for years, and you can rely on them to sell you out of the spring, hanging baskets and all that good stuff. But you've got more to offer, and you want, Rebecca said pollinators, right? Or maybe you've got, you want to sell more veggies or whatever it is. Then those are you want to find out where those people are online, and that's your goal. And so then that's going to dictate if it's influencer marketing, right? Then what influencers you look at. You're not going to work with the same influencer for October, necessarily, whatever those goals were, than this new goal of reaching people who are into pollinators. And so, it's your strategy might shift because you got to know, what's the goal? And then that'll help. That kind of helps everything else fall into place. It all kind of clicks. If you just take, 10 minutes to say, what do I have going really well for me, and do I need to maybe talk about it once in a while? And then what do I want to do? And then figure that out, then you start that plan.
Yeah. And when you're talking about strategy shifts, that brings us to one of our mistakes we're seeing a lot, is that people don't change what they're doing for years and years and years. And then, we have an aging customer base. We have newer generations coming in with different needs, different habits. So let's talk a little bit about needing that strategy to change, because I literally, when one of our data reviews this past week with you and I, Abby, we're like, wow, look at the types of content that's performing really well these days. How different than 5 years ago. 5 years ago, like, for example, video was king on social media. Right now, it's like, photo carousels. So you have to change your strategy.
And that's
absolutely.
It can go, and I think that, and this can get overwhelming. So I think that's why we see this mistake, because, and so I want to, make it clear that everything we're talking about, right? You don't have to do every single piece of this right to improve and succeed, but because there's shifting your strategy to align with, what's working, right? Via all the, the hot buzzword, the algorithms, but there's also shifting your strategy, to exactly what Rebecca said, to who is your audience and who do you need to reach? I know we saw one client, they put the same stuff on Instagram that they do on Facebook, and their Facebook content does very well because they have a very established audience there, and it tends to be their older customers. There are younger people that they were missing out because they just kind of did what we talked about. They just threw up all their flowers and got really specific, and this client has a huge tropical and houseplant selection as well, and they never talked about that, but they said to us, well, we want to increase our audience sizes, everywhere. And we want younger people coming in, and we want that to be more of a focus. And we're like, okay. So we started shifting and putting up more reels on Instagram and really kind of leaning into what you see the majority, right? A lot of people buy houseplants, but there is a huge push right now among houseplants, right? With people upper 20s, all 20s, I think, and 30s specifically. And it, and it worked. And you put that on Facebook and Instagram was, blowing up, but it also helped on Facebook. And so that's kind of one of those shifts is like, who do you actually need to be talking to? Because a 32-year-old homeowner, like I might, if I'm looking for information on my pots, my porch pots, sure, I'm going to probably be interested in the same thing. Maybe my 65-year-old mother-in-law is interested, but you can also hook me in other ways. So I think, that's something that we just see people just assuming that the same old's going to work.
And guess what? Seeing those shifts in the digital space will inevitably help you recognize what's happening in your retail space on the floor. Because we have a client who is very used to and very comfortable with the, 45 to 75 female set. And they have certain purchasing patterns. And now they have, for the past few years, starting to see more millennials, the daughters of those women, come in. And they have much different desires. They don't want their mother's garden decor. They don't want their mother's flowering annuals. And so this garden center needs to pivot their merchandising. Not only do they need to pivot what they're doing online, but this is why this is so important too, because if you recognize what's not working anymore in the digital space, then you're already having to face the facts about what's happening on your floor and with your customers. So it's just a fantastic way to track that.
Yeah, and I think that something else to consider on that I think so many people forget, social media at its core is social. And it is also supposed to serve some level of entertainment. Like that, if you are just selling me something in every post, I'm unfollowing. I am leaving it. That is not why I am going there and doing that. And so many people miss that piece, I think.
Oh, that's so important, Katie. I say that so often. Like when I used to do, strategy sessions with people as a business offer, I think of it as a friendship. And if that friend comes in, and they have their MLM, and every time you walk in their room, you're just like throwing something at me, or you ask me for something like, hey, can you come do me a favor? Can you come help me move? Can you watch my kid? Sure, because I love you. But after a while, I'm like, okay, but like, when was the last time we just hung out and you didn't need something from me?
Yeah. Right.
And I know it's hard, right? Because, you got to make money, but this is where, it's that give and take.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think a huge benefit of a marketing team from that, it's like having a specialized coach. You might have all the skill set there and be really great at growing these plants and selling these plants, but having someone step back and assess every move you're making from the sideline is invaluable in that space. And I think that specifically, like someone coming in from our team, having specialists analyzing each core area and function of marketing behaviors, marketing patterns is so valuable.
And I think, at the risk of, we don't run the risk of, because we could talk about, each of these, I feel like, topics could be its own podcast. One of these other mistakes that we have listed here is making an unrealistic strategy is something we see. And when I see that, it's a number of things. Some people, their whole strategy is trying to go viral, but there's also an unrealistic strategy or really an unrealistic social media plan is, are you piling all that work on an existing team member that doesn't have the space or the skills, one or the other? There are people on your team that probably have a lot of useful skills that, could help with marketing. But do they have the time? If they're already dedicated to the greenhouse, just because they're good at it and you're like, ooh, I could save $1 and have, Jimmy do it. Jimmy's busy. And if he doesn't do what he's doing in the greenhouse, the flowers are going to suffer. And so I think, in a way, outsourcing is part of setting up a realistic strategy, because you're recognizing that, hey, I don't have the time to give this everything that it needs. So, setting up something that is realistic, that can actually, be attained within your budget too, because it's hiring, a team of experts like us is not going to cost you the same as a whole extra salary.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we are much cheaper than a whole salary. But I will also say, like, does Jimmy have a track record of success on digital platforms with marketing? Now, sometimes it is the right move to have an in-house person who is a digital native, who has a good eye, who knows design, who is a good copywriter, who can be there to take high quality Instagram reels and photos, and can be there for especially TikTok, which is extremely intense because you have got to do it 3 times a day. If you have that special team member who can, and this exists, they're kind of unicorns, but they exist. They can take care of their greenhouse job and also run a fantastic marketing situation on your socials, if you have that person, then like make sure you're compensating them very well because you don't want to lose them. But most garden centers don't have that person. And then, what's your quality control on your digital presence,
And is it converting? Is it actually working for you?
And is that right? Exactly. Is that person able to look back at the data and say, okay, like we're going to pivot the strategy based on what we're seeing from the past quarter? And that's one of the things on our list too, is like not tracking your data is a mistake because again, it's like what we said earlier with like how your customer base changes, how the top performing content types change over the years. You need to be aware of like what is happening and how you're performing. And it's easy. Just go in the back end of like Meta and click analytics and it'll show you. And if you don't know what something means, either email us and be like, hey, just real quick, what's the difference between like, impressions and views, like we'll help you with that.
Yeah.
Or like you can literally Google it, it's so imperative for you to understand what is happening with your data because it'll help you make smarter decisions moving forward. And then you'll make more money because you know what you're doing. So that's another thing is just make sure every quarter, we would encourage for social every month, but realistically, like I get it, you're busy. At the end of the quarter, take a look back on the last 3 months and take a look specifically at what posts performed the best. Did one catch a wind and go further than the others? That's interesting. Why did that happen? What post absolutely tanked? Which ones did not perform?
Yeah.
And who's watching? You might be surprised that you have like, 40% men and you were not aware that you had so many men in your audience, for example. So you might be surprised at what you find and then that might inspire you to change some things. So absolutely track. And that's something we're seeing as well. People don't know, people aren't really aware of how their social media is working for them and whether it's working. And it's like, well, you're putting all this time in. Make sure you know if it's working for you.
And it's not as hard as it seems, I think is important too. Again, keeping this realistic. You can, experts like us are going to look at the metrics and be able to maybe, decipher them a little deeper or faster but if you're, using Meta, these last data reviews, they softball it out there for you. I mean, you go in, you look at the insights, you can set it year to year. And it tells you, and it also will compare you to similar people. Like it will do it for you at the bottom. It says, hey, here's what similar like businesses in your area are doing. Here's how you measure up. So, when Rebecca says this, it's not, it's not one of those things where you have to pull out a spreadsheet and, do it all yourself. Just that kind of, doing it loosely and it'll show you your top performing posts and things like that. So it's not something that if you don't have, an us to do it for you, it is possible to do.
Yeah, it's quite simple once you get into it.
No.
Sorry, I just love that this all started with us trying not to have the dogs bother us, and somehow a dog found a way to be a problem.
Yeah, we're coming back from pausing because one of the dogs decided to parade around the neighborhood and create issues, and neighbors calling Abby. And Abby's like, can we pause? I have a semi-emergency, baby.
I'm sorry.
And, yeah. And before we started rolling this podcast, we're like, we're all putting our dogs away.
You can go like a whole 2 week, like normal work days, no. But the moment you try to record a podcast, the dog's like,
oh no, like every time.
I think the dogs need employee photos.
They do, they absolutely do. There's photos of them. Yeah, we need to put them on the Our Team page,
Yes.
They help us. They
just put them all under like emotional support team, and there's just like each one of our dogs.
Or just like, pain in the ass number 1, pain in the ass number 2, the one that barks on phone calls.
That would be a really funny social media. Speaking of team features, like your people, we should do like a guilty, what each one of our dogs is guilty of. Like mine, clearly, delaying project deadlines because Abby's chasing him through the neighborhood.
Absolutely, yes. Late for the call because he wouldn't come home. I've been there.
Yes. Didn't want to go outside, and like,
yes.
Anytime it's raining, or it's like, I'm sorry, I'm late because my dog won't go to the bathroom and I need him to.
Be there soon, still watching him squat, okay? Yeah. Okay, so leading into number 4, giving up on social media and maybe pivoting too soon. Like I see all the time, if I had a dime for every time I saw, hey, you guys haven't posted on Facebook since 2014, or you guys haven't posted since last September. Why? And so let's talk about the disruptions a little bit. Not giving up too soon, I say, as I am also guilty of doing this for our own marketing. Shut up. But this is definitely, something that a lot of us as small business owners, I mean, I understand. I literally understand. Like trying to bootstrap this all by yourself, you realize how time consuming it is. When somebody comes to us and says, like, I just don't have time to do this anymore, I'm like, I know. That's why we have 3 people on this, because it is so time consuming. And then, it takes time. It does, all marketing efforts take a certain amount of time to reach that critical mass, but we see people giving up on it too soon. So I do want you, Abby, to kind of touch on that and talk about that.
I think that, and there's so many aspects to this. And I think something important to acknowledge is there's a lot of, marketing professionals in all sorts of different marketing, not necessarily specific just to social media, but I think business owners are sold or attempted to be sold an idea that marketing can be immediate and fast, right? Because people want your money. And and I'm here to bow down, right? Like sometimes there are things that, there are some people out there that might work immediately and boost sales right away. And if you find things that do that for you, I'm full success, but there's a lot of things that take time. Anything that seems too good to be true, right, usually is. I know, like, that's my husband's rule for his business. If it's like, people love to make it seem like it's going to be so simple and easy. Not saying everything has to be hard, but so I think that's a struggle, right? And so I think people, one thing that small businesses, especially these garden centers, right, that wanting these immediate big results, and maybe you see that online, it's easy when you're scrolling in your free time and you're like, well, all these things are going viral and these people have all these clicks, and when you don't immediately get that out of your social media, it's like, well, I'm doing something wrong, or I'm just not able to do it, so why waste my time? Those aren't the norm. There's billions of people on social media. The ones that you're seeing that are doing that's a small portion. These people that are getting, hundreds and thousands of views on each post, a small portion. And sure, that's great, but all of those billions of people on social media, not all of them, but the portion of them that are in your area, that are your, potential customers, are just that. So you don't need necessarily, right, all those millions and millions of people to see your stuff. Viral is not the goal. And I say this all the time. So, that goes back to unrealistic strategy. Going viral is not a strategy. Not going viral is not a reason to give up or to pivot or to think that you're failing. I think that is, and not even not going viral, but if you're getting, maybe 10 engagements a post and you're trying to, do better, don't expect to all of a sudden get 100 engagements a post. We're looking for that slow growth. We're looking for 15, 20, 30, 40. You've got to grow that audience in a meaningful way.
And speaking of realistic versus not realistic, we are seeing garden center owners who are saying, I am going to try social media for 3 months and I'm going to see what it does to our sales. And it's like, okay. What is your base? And what do you expect to actually happen here? Because it could take a year or a year and a half or 6 months. We don't know. It could take 2 weeks for you to see a revenue windfall. But I always hesitate to say like, yeah, you're definitely going to see revenue increases after just like a quarter of posting on Facebook, because there are so many factors that go into this. Always goes back to the quality of your strategy, goes back to the quality of your content, goes back to like literally how are you copywriting, what imagery are you using, do you know who you're talking to begin with? So are you on the right platform? Are you
And
on
there's
the
other
right platform?
factors, rainy springs, right?
Yeah,
Like,
rainy
so you
springs.
can have the best marketing in the world, and that
Yeah,
will, it should ideally help
yeah,
cut through a rainy spring, but
yeah,
we can only control so much. And so I think,
yeah.
and there's that difference too, like, yeah, we can build you
Right.
a really good ad, and we can
Yeah,
directly
Mm-hmm.
impact sales, right, but that's one aspect of social media. And a lot of garden centers, don't have the kind of revenue to constantly run those ads. So then the moment you
yeah,
stop running that ad, you're going to lose those extra sales again. And so there's both. So it's a good
right, right.
strategy over time, takes you from here to here. And yes, in the meantime,
Yeah,
absolutely run those ads and get those immediate extra sales. But,
yeah,
eventually, if you commit for the long haul, then you can raise it, you can raise the bar in a sustainable way
yeah.
over time.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes we feel those tangible results in the cash register. Like I've seen firsthand, like, hey, can you guys
Yes.
actually take down that post? Because like people are still coming in wanting this and we don't have it. So we can
Yeah.
sometimes beautifully see that linear, that quite literally the line
Oh,
between
yeah.
like what we're posting and product moving. That is very, very real. Okay.
Yeah.
And that kind of segues us into another mistake, kind of a sub mistake of giving up too soon, is slow season.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the slow season. Should you be on social media? Should you be spending your time or money or both on social media in the slow season?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
And should you be giving up on your strategy during the slow season?
Right. Mm.
And the answer is no. Your strategy might pivot
Mm-hmm.
a little, but that
Yeah.
that's like okay, so I hate this saying. I think it's one of those. It reminds me of like I'm not a big Gary Vee fan. For those of you that may or may
Yeah.
not know those like business, but I
Okay.
think that having good social media during like slow seasons oftentimes is, it's like the leaving when you stop, it's leaving gold on the ground, right? Like
Yeah.
I know that's a cringy thing to say, but giving up when because during the busy season is when everybody's online asking for all of the attention.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you this spring. I know I've mentioned it to Rebecca. There's a few garden centers near me that have been putting ads out that never did that before. So I saw so much during the spring. It's all but stopped because it's summer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just planted new perennials yesterday because I've been busy. I didn't have time, and
Yeah.
and it's been rainy and it's finally dry. So where the people advertising, now, hey, I still have this. Hey, come in. Hey, let me help you take care of the stuff you planted, or you went out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Your neighbors didn't water your flowers right. Come replace them. Or hey, you want
Yeah.
some houseplants? Well, we got that, and
Mhm.
I can, lock me in as a follower and a customer now, and then I'm going to be
Yes.
ready to be their
Yep.
cash in hand come fall. And also,
Yeah,
yeah, just entertain me. Like keep me entertained,
exactly.
keep me thinking top of mind. Like, Joe's Garden Center all summer, even if
Yeah.
I'm done gardening, and then when I'm ready to flip out for fall, again, I'm going to Joe's, whoever Joe is.
Exactly. You know what? And two, like your next successful busy season is going to be the way that it is based on what you're doing today. So if
And it's
right
still
now,
in your slow season.
Yeah.
Yes.
yes, and right now it's July 9th, everyone's on their fishing boats as you
Yep.
should be. Okay. However, the decisions you make today in July are directly going to impact you on April 15th in 2026.
Absolutely.
So absolutely, and I think about the fact that I live near 3 garden centers. I really like all 3 of them, but 2 of them market all year round, and one of them only markets in the spring. And guess which one I always forget to go to. I never remember that they're there. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like that place. I should go see how they're doing. But like, they're not, I always forget that they're there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one that runs marketing for garden centers. Like, I should remember that they're there, but I don't. I always go to the ones that are trying to talk to us year round, because they're showing me that they're available and they want my business and that they're here. Like, I'm refreshed in my memory about them.
Well, it sounds like marketing, right? There's, I think marketers on some level we are better at, not falling ill to bad marketing because we see it and we know it, but good marketing works on everybody, including the experts.
It really does. It does. Yeah. Yes, it does. So just something to think about, guys, if you're looking at, and I get it, I understand that there is a very real, some of y'all are small. There's maybe one or three actual employees of the business. And sometimes you don't have the working capital, but even if you don't have the working capital to invest in professional marketers like us, like, please try to do it yourself, because you don't want to lose that momentum. So, think about ways that, you can try to make your slow season a little bit busier through these activities. It's worth a shot. So,
slow season might be a great time to sit down and write out a strategy. A very
it really is.
Strategy.
Plan your marketing garden. Okay. Plan the marketing garden. So, I think we've covered pretty much everything. We have, not having a strategy, like, at least have an overarching plan for what you're going to talk about on a regular basis. Don't just post pictures of like close-up flowers, because it could be anywhere. It could be anybody's flowers. Okay. Like, I know your flowers are better than Home Depot's, or I shouldn't say Home Depot by name. I should say big box stores.
We'll bleep that out.
I know your plants are better than the big box stores, but they could be any garden center's flowers. So get a little bit more creative. I want you to be featuring your team members in both photos and videos. I want to be hearing these unique voices, these familiar faces that your customers are seeing every time they stop by. We want to increase that emotional connection between you and your audience. So get a little bit creative with that and dynamic, and add your personality into what you're doing. Find your uniqueness, what makes you different from the garden center down the street. And no, it's not that you've been around since 1955. No, it's not that you have knowledge about your plants. All garden center owners have that. What makes you special? And talk about that. Don't give up on your strategy too soon. Don't pivot too soon. Like, give it time. And
you'll find your people.
Oh, what's that?
I said, yeah, you'll find your people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Ideal. A good strategy will work.
Yeah. And, don't expect unrealistic things to happen. Like, we're not trying to get a 300% cash in hand ROI in 3 weeks. Like, that's not going to happen. Unless it's a miracle. Like, that'd be nice, right? Like, I would love that. We all want that to happen. But it's probably not.
I'm still waiting, guys. 15 years of social media. I've had posts go off really, really high, but I don't know if I would call any of them viral yet. I'm still waiting. I want my 1 million.
Yeah, right.
Like, we see results. So don't wait to go viral, because
exactly. I think in our entire business's history, we've had one post go viral, and it was not for a garden center. Yeah. But we've had a YouTube video kind of go viral for a garden center. But YouTube's fun because, like, are you even in Ohio?
If I go viral, we'll talk about that another day.
We will. We have so much to talk about.
I really didn't need to hear, Joe from Sheboygan opinion. I don't know what's all Joe names for me today. Jimmy, John, Joe.
It's all Joe, Jimmy and Joe today.
Joe and Barbara, but
right.
I didn't need Joe from Sheboygan's opinion on my local Dayton, Ohio client, but that's what going viral got me. So, like, we'll talk about that in another podcast.
There is going to be a Joe from Sheboygan listening to this, being like, "Hey."
I would love your opinion on your garden center, Joe from Sheboygan.
Joe from Sheboygan, can you call us, please?
Can we
I
add
know
him in
you're
the
Value your opinions. Next
All right,
podcast,
y'all.
we'll use all like B names, and they'll all be either gender neutral or women. I'm not going to pick on the boys.
Sam and Alex, where you at? All right, y'all. Well, we should wrap it up. I know I could talk to you gals all day long, but we got to wrap it up for everybody's sakes. If you guys have any questions at all about your social media or your online presence or any of your marketing, consider us a resource. We're all here for you. We love garden centers. Like, I hope that our enthusiasm about garden centers shows, like we are your customer. We don't come from a horticulture background, but damn if we haven't learned a lot over the past few years, like working with horticulturalists, you know what I mean? But we're marketers. We're your marketers. So definitely reach out to us. And if you're like, I am tired of the endless hamster wheel of social media, because it is, give us a call. We will give you rest. We will give you rest and money. So yeah, thank you, Katie
Rebecca
and Abby.
I'm keeping.
Oh, what's that?
I said Rebecca will give you money. I'm keeping my money.
I'm keeping my money.
We'll give
we
you
will
other
all
money.
we will all make money together. That's the goal. Yes. And yeah, I mean, that's what we love hearing, because in our data review times, it's like, oh man, like we were up 15% every single month this quarter. We're like, that's what.
Oh yeah.
Up. So yes, we will get you money, and we'll get Abby maybe a dog leash. And
I'm a very responsible dog owner. It was my husband. Oh my God, I'm picking on mom again. I didn't.
I knew that. Yes.
I can't talk, dude. I keep forgetting Samuel is outside. Like, I'll be like, where's my dog? And then I'll hear like a little chirp outside the door, and I'll be like, oh no, I forgot Samuel again.
Well, it's sun charging.
They're
out there charging in the sun.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm the best dog owner here, because I always forget and my mom almost forgot the same dog. I mean, we're always forgetting Samuel, because he just stands awkwardly to the side staring at us like a predator.
He wants to be forgotten. He's like, just leave me alone.
It's like, oh no, we almost locked Samuel in the garage. I would have been like, where is he? Like 3 hours later.
God, he chews through the door.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Please don't take us on. Yeah. Just trust us. We love our dogs very deeply. We take great care of our dogs.
We love our dogs. We know you love your greenhouse dogs. Yeah. So anyway, adios, and we'll see y'all around. Bye, guys.
Bye.